Welcome to Interesting, Funny, Infuriating. Today's subject falls under the interesting category, at least if you like Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, so let's get started. A few years ago, I wrote an article over at StarWarsNewsNet.com about the plan to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. I thought this would make a great video, and I even have some additional content to add. By the way, StarWarsNewsNet.com is a great source of Star Wars news. Even though I don't write for them anymore, I still visit the site every day. They have excellent coverage for all things Star Wars. From childhood into adulthood, I never stopped to think about the plan to rescue Han Solo. It just seemed that Leia's plan failed, Luke's plan failed, but then Luke had a backup plan that worked. End of story. As an adult, I was thinking about Star Wars, in this sequence of events in particular, and wondered, how was this plan supposed to go to begin with? So I stopped what I was doing and watched Return of the Jedi again, poor me, and tried to figure it out. Here's what I came up with. First of all, the timeline is not totally clear to me. Did all of this take place in 1 day, 2 days, a week? These are just the impressions that I got. On the first day, Luke sent R2-D2 and C-3PO to Jabba's palace. During the walk there, 3PO said, "Of course I'm worried, and you should be too. Lando Calrissian and poor Chewbacca never returned from this awful place." That will be significant later. R2 projected Luke's message for everyone there to see, offering to bargain for Han's life and gifting R2 and 3PO to Jabba. 3PO did not approve. Jabba said that he preferred his Han Solo popsicle where it was, on his wall. Princess Leia arrived, disguised as a bounty hunter, with Chewbacca on a leash as her prisoner. This is the second time Chewie was used as a fake prisoner, and from now on I will refer to this tactic as the Chewbacca maneuver. Leia, in disguise, used a thermal detonator to negotiate a higher price for poor Chewbacca and got an approving nod from Boba Fett. Chewie got sent to a jail cell, Max Rebo and the band jammed, and Lando pulled down his mask to make sure everyone knew it was him. That night, Leia unfroze Han, who was temporarily blind, but got caught by Jabba, and Han got sent to Chewie's cell. Chewie told Han that Luke is a Jedi and is going to rescue him. Han had doubts. On the second day, Luke somehow entered Jabba's palace and tried to hand-wave Jabba into freeing Han and the others. Jabba said, "How about no?" Luke force-pulled a blaster right out of a thug's holster and tried to point it at Jabba, but Jabba triggered a trapdoor under Luke and Luke fell into Jabba's basement. Instead of keeping his unused Peloton and his washer and dryer down there, he kept a Rancor monster which tried to eat Luke. Luke managed to close a giant gate on the monster's neck and killed it. This infuriated Jabba, and he sentenced Luke, Han, and Chewie to death. The next events may have been on the same day, or maybe the next day, it's not important. Jabba took his floating sand yacht to the Great Pit of Carkoon, which was a hole in the sand with a tentacle monster in it called the Sarlacc. Han, Chewie, and Luke were on a smaller sand boat, and Lando was on there too, disguised as a guard. Luke said to Han, "Just stick close to Chewie and Lando, I've taken care of everything." Leia was chained to Jabba. R2 was on the top deck of Jabba's sail barge. Just before being pushed into the pit, Luke did a cool flip, and R2 shot Luke's new lightsaber out of a compartment straight into Luke's hand. Leia strangled Jabba to death with her own leash. After that, R2 cut her chains, and they went to the top level. The heroes trounced Jabba's bad guys. Even though they had already won, Luke told Leia to point a giant cannon located on the top level down into the main deck. Luke and Leia swung from an extremely convenient rope to one of the sand boats that the rest of the heroes were on. Just before swinging, Luke used his foot to trigger the giant cannon to shoot Jabba's barge just as they swung, starting a chain reaction and destroying the barge and killing everyone in it. The next part is pure conjecture, but I think at least one of Jabba's guests surely had this thought. My life cannot possibly be any better right now. I'm a guest on Jabba's barge, drinks are free, I'm attending a high-profile execution, things are looking good for— I'm on fire, now I'm dead. The heroes got away and continued their fight against the Empire. So, to the point of this video, what was Plan A supposed to be? Here are a few potential versions of Plan A. Version 1. 3PO and R2 deliver Luke's message. Luke gives Jabba a day to think about it. Luke arrives in person and Jabba bargains with Luke and they make a deal. If Jabba refuses, Luke uses his Jedi mind trick. Luke leaves with Han and maybe the droids. Lando quits or escapes, maybe he gets the droids out instead. Here's the problem with this being Plan A. Princess Leia arrives with Chewie in the middle of this version of Plan A. Luke's plan hasn't even been given a chance to succeed or fail before Leia arrives. Here's version 2 of Plan A. 3PO and R2 deliver Luke's message. Princess Leia brings Chewie to collect the bounty on him. Leia unfreezes Han. Lando or Leia releases Chewie. Leia, Han, Lando, and Chewie leave together with the droids. Here are the problems with this being Plan A. Jabba could have executed Chewie on the spot. Sneaking around Jabba's palace with a blind man, 2 droids, and a Wookiee without anyone seeing or hearing them seems highly unlikely. 3PO in R2's presence is totally unnecessary. Leia could have shown up first and rescued Han without the need to also rescue 2 droids. If need be, Luke could have sent the droids if Leia's plan failed, and Luke could have offered to bargain for all of their lives. Here's version 3 of Plan A. This one is complicated, so bear with me. Luke sends the droids to Jabba. Leia arrives with Chewie. Leia unfreezes Han, hoping to escape but expecting to probably be captured. Thawing Han is the important part. Leia knows for sure that Jabba will want her to be his slave/dancing girl, and she will spend her time in the main room and have access to Jabba. If Leia is captured, Luke will arrive and use the mind trick on him, and they all leave without anything unpleasant happening. But if the mind trick fails, Luke will swipe a blaster from a thug and make Jabba release everyone or die. If that fails and Luke is also captured, everyone knows that Jabba executes prisoners only using the Sarlacc. Assuming Jabba goes the Sarlacc route, everyone knows where to be. Lando on the skiff with the prisoners, R2 on the top deck ready with Luke's lightsaber. Since Luke threatened Jabba's life, Luke knew that Jabba would want him to die first. Luke will do his flip and get his lightsaber before they throw Han or Chewie into the Sarlacc. When the chaos starts, Leia is to kill Jabba by any means necessary. R2 will help get Leia and 3PO to the top deck for evacuation. Luke will make his way to the top deck to get Leia to one of the skiffs and fire the cannon into the barge at exactly the right moment to prevent anyone from coming after them, like, ever. In case you haven't figured it out, this is how it actually played out on screen. Here are the problems with this being Plan A. Assumptions. Many assumptions. Here are the assumptions they made. That Jabba wouldn't just execute everyone in their cells or by some other means. That Jabba would make Leia his slave/dancing girl and not throw her in a cell or kill her. That Jabba would kill them at all. He could have let them sit in a cell forever. That the executions would all happen together. What if he did them each on different days? That Jabba would bring R2 and 3PO on the sail barge with him. He could have left them, and thus Luke's saber, at the palace. That R2 would be able to get somewhere to eject the lightsaber. That they would throw Luke in the Sarlacc first. What if they pushed Han in first? Luke getting his lightsaber in time could have been a big problem. That Jabba would use the Sarlacc for the execution. I mentioned this last one because I found something to support this assumption while watching Jedi again for this video. When 3PO translated Jabba's decree that our heroes were to be executed, while mentioning the Sarlacc, Luke does a small nod that I hadn't noticed before. It was almost as if Luke was thinking, yep, I knew you'd use the Sarlacc. Predictable. Other than there not being an obvious original plan, there are some other problems with Han's rescue, like the problem of Lando. Wait, what's wrong with Lando? There's nothing wrong with Lando. In any other circumstance, he'd probably be a great choice to go undercover. The problem with Lando going undercover as a guard in Jabba's palace is that Boba Fett lived there, worked there, or at least spent a lot of time there. Lando and Boba Fett knew each other. They spent time together on Cloud City. Boba Fett likely guessed where Han was taking the Millennium Falcon in The Empire Strikes Back because he knew Han and Lando were friends. And he probably learned that Lando helped our heroes after betraying them and was now part of their gang. I doubt that Boba Fett wouldn't have recognized Lando at some point. It was super risky sending Lando in as the mole, but Lando needed something to do. I mean, you don't just introduce someone as a major character in the second movie of a trilogy and then cut them out of the third movie. That's just crazy talk. Nobody would do that. That brings us to the problem of Boba Fett. What's wrong with Boba Fett? There's nothing wrong with Boba Fett, but some of his behavior in Jedi is inconsistent with what we learn about him in Empire. In The Empire Strikes Back, only Boba Fett caught up with Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon. And he got the exclusive opportunity to interact with Darth Vader. Vader made it clear to Boba that his real goal was to capture a man named Luke Skywalker alive. Boba Fett was in the room when R2 played Luke's message. I double-checked this to make sure it was true. While panning the camera to show Han still in carbonite, you can see Boba Fett in the room. What do we know about Mr. Fett? Boba Fett likes money. He said Han was worth a lot to him. So Boba Fett knew that the man Darth Vader, and also the Emperor, wanted alive was coming to Jabba's palace soon. The very first thing Boba should have done was get on the horn with Darth Deep Pockets Vader and say, I know exactly where Luke Skywalker is going to be in the next few days. Space Venmo me $1 million space bucks and I'll give you the details. Instead, Boba Fett was literally going to stand around while Jabba threw a huge payday down a hole in the sand. I've read other articles on this subject, and they suggest that Luke, Leia, and Lando executed their own plans independently of each other. They say that they conceived their plans in isolation of each other, and it's just coincidence that they all took place at the same time. I think those people forgot to look at The Empire Strikes Back and only focus on Jedi. There are a few things that disprove this idea. First, at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, Luke told Lando that he would meet him on Tatooine. Second, Lando and Chewie left together at the end of Empire, and Leia heard them agree to meet on Tatooine. Third, Chewie told Han that Luke was going to rescue him, meaning that Chewie and Luke were on the same page. Finally, Chewie was already working with Leia, so that ties all of them together in this zany adventure. Case closed. In addition to all that, there are 4 details I wonder about. 1. How did Luke get into Jabba's palace initially? It's a safe bet that Jabba told the welcome droid not to let him in. Did he talk his way in? Use the Force? Hotwire the door? 2. Why did 3PO say that Chewbacca hadn't returned from Jabba's palace before Chewbacca ever went there? Also, why was seeing Chewie a surprise for 3PO? On the walk-in, he mentioned that Chewie was already there. Did he forget? Before you say that a droid shouldn't be able to forget anything, there is some precedent for this, specifically with C-3PO. We have to go back in time to when our heroes were on the first Death Star. 3PO was desperately trying to locate Luke, who was in the garbage smasher on the detention level. R2 asked 3PO why he didn't use the comlink. 3PO replied, "Oh, I forgot, I turned it off." This makes 3PO kind of a hypocrite for giving R2 a hard time when he said, "What message?" when Luke asked to see Leia's recording earlier in the movie. But it does show that droids, or at least C-3PO, are capable of forgetting things. 3. Did the heroes know that Jabba only executed people by way of the Sarlacc? The plan seemed totally dependent on it. On the way to the Sarlacc, Luke told Han that he had taken care of everything, and Han replied with, "Oh, great." That sounds like Han wasn't aware of the plan. So, if Han didn't know the plan, then they made it before they all arrived at Jabba's. Did Luke have a vision of Han Solo's rescue, and this complicated sequence of events was the only way to get everyone out? 4. The next question I have comes from something I saw in the Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian. Spoiler alert. In this series, we learn that Jabba's right-hand man, Bib Fortuna, took over Jabba's organization after Jabba's death. Before this series, the last time we saw Bib on screen was on Jabba's sail barge when 3PO was translating Jabba's offer to hear their pleas for mercy. As far as we know, Bib Fortuna was still aboard the sail barge when it exploded. How did he survive? I mean, look at this. Who could survive that? Well, I mean, who other than Emperor Palpatine, who can survive a much, much bigger explosion? In space. My theory is that after the fighting started, Jabba said, "Hey Bib, we're losing thugs at an alarming rate. There's a speeder on the top deck, on the side facing away from the Sarlacc. Take that back to the palace and bring reinforcements. Off you go." And Bib sped away, and when he returned, he found the barge destroyed and everyone dead. Then he took over Jabba's crime organization and hired new thugs with the insurance payout on the sail barge, because that was definitely totaled. So there it is. The rescue of Han Solo was a wild ride that definitely has some unorthodox planning elements, like making everyone a prisoner in some way or another. But I still love it. I can watch it over and over again and enjoy it every time. Maybe I was just the right age to appreciate it just the right way. I never thought it didn't make sense and loved how exciting it was. None of the flaws have changed my opinion of this great part of Star Wars. If I left anything out, let me know in the comments. Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
I know where Skywalker is going to be in the next few days. Space Venmo me $1,000,000 space bucks and I'll give you the details.
I don't have Space Venmo. Do you have Space Zelle?
No.
I guess we could use Space PayPal.
That works.
Very well.